La 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 la. Had a dream last night. You were there with me too, yes. We had such a fight, such a fight. We've been fighting for so very long. Then when I awoke, found it was more than a dream, yeah. Oh. And so I sent you a prayer. Was kind of hoping that you would care, yeah. Say, love, don't hurt me again, 'cause I need you now. Can you please be my friend? Hey, yes, oh no. Love, can you open the door? See, I don't wanna be alone no more. Say, hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah, 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 yeah. Now here comes the day. Here comes the day. And a chance to redeem myself. Say I'm sorry. Guess what I'm trying to say? Yeah, I wanna make right every wrong. Yeah. And then I heard it being said, you don't easily make amends, oh yeah. And but this time it's a plea, yeah, yeah. Can you just come and make me free, yeah, yeah. Whoa, yeah, say love, don't hurt me again, 'cause I need you now. Can you please be my friend, yeah, yeah. Love, can you open the door? See, I don't wanna be alone no more. Say,
So today we're in conversation with Ernie Smith, the legendary musician. A few months ago, Ernie was rushed to the doctors, seriously ill. In fact, he had an almost near-death experience. And the doctor told him on that day, if he did not receive treatment, he would have died. But before we get into that harrowing episode or experience, tell us who Ernie Smith is.
Ernie Smith, I guess I'm firstly a child of God. I'm a born-again Christian, and I believe that is really defines my entire life, is my walk with God and my experiences with Him. From a child, from the age of 13 and a half, I've been a born-again Christian. The Lord came into my heart and changed me. And one of the things that's really important to me is fatherhood, being a father. I'm a father of 3 daughters. I love people. I love music. It's my life. They say you don't choose it, it chooses you. From a very young age, I started playing music, and by God's grace, been traveling all over the world, just touching people's lives. I'm also an entrepreneur, starting new businesses, and a whole lot of other things. Yeah.
So you've recorded a couple of albums. Tell us about that. Yeah. I mean, I'm a fan of your first album, which is Child of the Light, right?
Yes.
And of course, Lonely.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Well, that was, back in the day when I've always had a dream. At about 13 and a half, I had a vision. I saw myself on stage and there were hundreds of people in front of me. And at the time, I couldn't even play music properly. I was learning how to play guitar. And my journey eventually led me to wanting to record, wanting to document what I believed that God had given me. And so I was playing in a jazz club in town in Durban, and I spoke to a guy by the name of Param Joseph, who was owning Mattress King at the time.
Right.
And I said to him, hey man, I want to record. I didn't even know what recording entailed. I just said to him, I want to record. So he said to me, okay, what do you need? I said to him, I just thumb sucked and I said, 20,000 Rand. He said to me, come pick up the check tomorrow. So in those days, my mom locked the phone. It was a dialing, dialing phone. So if it was locked, we learned that where you put the receiver,
you tap
it.
Yeah.
So I saw a phone number of an engineer, recording engineer, on a CD of a guy by the name of Jimmy Lulu. And I heard his music and I was like, hey, this guy's doing kind of what I want to do. And I loved the sound of it. So I saw his number, Jasper was his name. And I tapped the number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can imagine how many times I got that wrong,
Yeah.
But eventually I got to speak to him. And I said to him, I want to record an album. So he said, this is like unprecedented.
So at the time, did you already have music written?
No, yes and no. I was just like, I knew I had the desire to record stuff. And I had a few tunes laying around kind of thing, but not complete songs. And he said to me, I'll come down to Durban, which is something that nobody does. You normally come to where they are.
Yeah.
I think there was a girl he was wanting to see in Durban.
Okay.
So he put his whole studio in his car and came down. And we rented a place in Westville to do the recording. And halfway, just at the beginning of it, he said to me, this is not going to be enough money. So I phoned Param and I said, hey, I made a mistake. We need more money. He said, how much? I said, 20,000. He said, come pick up the check tomorrow.
My word.
Yeah, so we done that, and halfway through it, we were recording. So we had reached a point where we were kind of like at an impasse. We had run out of funds, and when I spoke to Param, he said, hey, things were bad at the time, or challenging with the business. So I had an album where there's half a song completed. Some had singing, no music. Some had music, no singing. And I was a bit discouraged, and the engineer, Jasper, went back to Joburg with the project. And he said he's going to play it for a few people there. To be honest, I was like despondent for a month or so. And then I decided to tap and speak to the guy. He gave me a number of Damon Forbes, who was the CEO of Sheer Sound recording company. So he said to me, man, I love, even in that form, I love what you're doing. Can you come to Joburg and let's have a conversation? So I got in a bus, a Greyhound, and went to Joburg, met him. We discussed, and the first thing I said, well, look, let's pay everyone that's involved, the musicians and all of that, and really became one of their artists and started recording. Long story short, when I was in the studio recording, the engineer and my bass player friend, Concord, said, do you have any other songs? And I didn't. I just had a small... That's all,
Yes.
And then they put me in the studio. I said, okay, I'll try. And as they're counting me in, on the spot, I'm making up. So it's like, it wasn't a song that I'd written per se.
Okay.
It was an on-the-spot, impromptu kind of thing. And that song, out of all the songs, made South African history.
Yes, it became the number one.
Yeah, number one on 16 radio stations.
Okay.
And the rest after that is history, as they say.
Okay.
I was 2 weeks after releasing my first album, I was performing in Malaysia, and then, it just started spiraling out of control.
So tell us about that. Where have you performed? I know that you've been in New Orleans.
Yeah.
What concerts were you on in New Orleans?
New Orleans was the biggest festival they have, actually. It's called the Jazz Fest. They have like about 120,000 people a day.
So was it a Mardi Gras?
Yeah, Mardi Gras was before that.
Before that, okay.
Yeah, and the
was
French
it the
Quarter
Essence?
Festival. Yes.
Was it the Essence?
No. It's the New Orleans Jazz Fest.
Oh, okay.
It's huge.
Okay.
Like, as I was saying, there's like 120,000 people. You're performing. There's George Benson this side. There's Maroon 5 this side.
Okay.
There's whoever, and then we played on the world stage.
Okay.
So it was really exciting to see how they responded to my music. They really love African music, And I think traveling a lot and being in different places, especially like New Orleans, kind of make you aware of what value we have, intrinsic value in our music.
Okay.
And sometimes we find a lot of our artists trying to emulate American musicians, Yet when they hear us, they like can't believe it. They really love our music. So it's helped me identify what it was that made me uniquely South African.
So you've recorded with the likes of Jonathan Butler, Kirk Whalum, B.B. Winans. Tell us about that experience.
From a young age, I really looked up to Jonathan Butler, and I admired him, and I asked God one day, I said, let me be like him, or at least let me meet him. So as it turned out, when my career had taken off, every time I would do an interview on TV, so they asked me who was one of the musicians I looked up to, I would always mention his name. So his brother-in-law was from PE, and my manager at the time was doing some business in PE. So we spoke to him and said to Jonathan's brother-in-law that, we manage Ernie. And this guy, Vincent Fraser, told Jonathan, he said, hey, there's a guy in South Africa that really loves you. He's always talking about you, that kind of thing, not knowing that it was my dream to meet him. So as it turns out, we were in New York, and we got a call. My manager got a call, and he said to me, it's Jonathan Butler, he wants to talk to you. So I was like, obviously dumbfounded, and I took the phone. He said to me, I love your music, I'm a fan, I love everything that you're doing. Yeah. And he said, don't do anything with anyone in America until you speak to me. So he gave me his number, and I called him, and every time he would come to South Africa, we'd sit down at a hotel together and, just speak. And I asked him will he produce my record? And in 2005, went to LA to live with him for a month, and we produced the record, and all amazing things started happening. There were people like Kirk Whalum on the other guy, Gregory, that was was producing for pop idols in the US. And so that was like a dream come true, and nobody knew. I mean, Jonathan didn't know that, that this had been a dream, that I was like, let me meet this guy, or let me be like him. And today we are friends, and that's just the hand of God that really just gave me that desire and answered that.
Okay. So it's really the grace of God that you sit here today.
The whole thing.
So 2020, COVID hit.
Yeah.
And everything stopped. Things came to a complete halt. And I suppose things began to unravel then for you, because you just lost your source of income completely.
Completely.
Okay. Tell us how you coped through that, at least the first few months of lockdown.
Yeah, it was something strange, obviously, for everyone, for the whole world. And as you know, we get an income from live performances, and if you don't perform, you don't get paid. So, but one of the things that was great about that, well, at least saving grace for us, is that if you're a recording artist, people were more at home, so they're streaming a little more, because they got nowhere to go. So we at least receive some kind of income from that, but it's very small in terms of it definitely couldn't pay for our lives and sustain us, So yeah, I mean, it was hard. We were in a phase where we all had to adapt and learn how to still be able to monetize our gifts. So really, I will say honestly, and not a broad stroke, but really in detail, without God's help and God's grace and good friends, it affected us really hard. Ended up my wife and I going through a separation, and that was really hard on me. I found myself taking comfort in having a drink a bit too often. I got addicted to sleeping tablets, and it got to a point where, as you said, I got really ill, And the doctor, like you were saying, the doctor said, if I'd not been there in time, I could have died. In fact, he told me 4 times, you're dying today, And and I'm telling you, we always say, we held on to the Lord. The truth is, he held on to us, and God intervened through friends. I went through a bit of a rehab program, and I had to make some hard decisions in terms of where I'm living, what I'm doing. And I'm grateful for being able to come out of that and not just surviving, but recovering, And I think that's important. A lot of people survive something, but it's important to recover. And, God, by his grace, has been opening new doors, and it's starting to happen again. And yeah, I'm really grateful for it.
Okay, so let's just chat about the rehab part. How did you get to a place? Because it's very difficult for individuals to lift their hand up and say, I need help.
Yeah.
How did you get to a place where you decided, I have to get help, I have to go into rehab?
Yeah. I think it got to a point where I realized it was out of control. I had been really just overindulging I was just drinking and taking tablets to sleep and just to get over the pain, of the separation and of everything like that. And then my friend, Martin Paulsen, came and visited me. And I remember he spoke to me about it. He said, "Eddie, you have to get to rehab or else you're going to die, you know." And I realized a couple of episodes were happening, you're sleeping and you wake up and you like, oh, okay, what happened there? What happened there? You can't remember a few things that were happening. And I realized that, it is time. It's either that or I'm going to die. And for my 3 children who are my life, I realized I have to make the right decisions and do the hard things. And my experience in rehab was really enlightening. I mean, I think the first 6 days I was there, I felt like it's completely different, like in terms of my recovery. And made some good friends and learned from everybody else's experience that, you're not the only one going through this. There's a whole lot of people. There's a whole lot of people going through what I was going through and what people are going through, Even the Bible says, don't think what you're going through is uncommon to man, and really just being able to, that became a source of strength and a source of encouragement, just being able to share my story with other people and have them share the same. And the truth is, there are so many people that are in jobs working that have the problem of addiction. I find a lot of people are addicted to pain tablets. They just don't realize that it's an addiction because they're used to taking it every day, And we learn some of the startling things about how some of the tablets contain traces of heroin and opium and all of that.
Absolutely.
That people don't really know, And being able to deal with it from a broader spectrum and not just a spiritual kind of positioning was really important, to actually face it up front. And one of the things I talk about in rehab is radical acceptance. Just to accept that, this is where my life is. This is, what I've been going through, and this is what I'm faced with. And also, you kind of question when they asked us questions like, have you suffered enough to want to give up this addiction?
Right.
Have you suffered enough to want to change this and build a better life? And if the life you're building is no better than the life you come from, then you're going to go back to the life you come from.
Right.
So it really inspired me to reevaluate my goals and refresh that first vision that I had about doing great, and becoming somebody that is an encouragement and has aspirations according to what God has placed in my heart. Yeah. I thank God for that experience. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So do you think that there was purpose for you to have gone through that harrowing ordeal where the doctor has told you that today was the day you're going to die? Do you think that there was purpose in going through rehab?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think for me, at first I was upset almost with God. Like, how can you allow this to happen? I'm your child. I've been serving you for so many years, as if God owes us favors. And I read a scripture that actually says, and Lazarus, Jesus' friend, says that got sick and died. So what it means is that even as Christians, we are not exempt from going through the challenges that the world goes through, that everybody else goes through. The difference is that we have God, in our lives. And I believe that what I went through is not only for myself, it's for countless thousands of people that are also going through it, that are going through a dark time and a state of depression, that, you can rise up, you can overcome it. Every day is different. Some days are great, some days are not so great, but it's having the understanding and having the persistence and then the strength to push through and just to stay connected with people, be in a community, be in an environment that really supports what you're doing. And you find taking your mind off yourself and really focusing on other people and helping other people is one of the greatest weapons that we have, and having a spirit of thanksgiving, because one of the things I found out about being in a place of depression is everything's about you. It's me. No one sees this, no one sees that. And the one thing that combats that is thanksgiving. It's just being grateful that I'm awake. I'm grateful that I got another chance. Gratitude that I can spend time with my daughters. It's one of the most amazing things.
Yeah.
You cannot be depressed and grateful at the same time.
Yes.
So that's one of the keys, one of the tools is really just having an attitude of gratitude.
That's a powerful statement.
Yeah.
You cannot be depressed
And be grateful.
and be grateful at
Yeah.
the same time.
Yeah.
So you're on the mend.
Mm-hmm.
So it's now upwards and onwards for
One
you.
way.
What are you focusing on?
I'm definitely focusing on the new relationship that I have with my kids. Not in terms of them and I, but rather in the fact that I can't wake up every morning and have them in the same house. I live in Joburg, they live in Durban, so I have to commute and come and see them. And really, it's taken a bit of an adjustment. Sometimes I miss them like really bad. I was just telling them now, if I hadn't come and see them now, I think I was feeling sick, And it's in rehab, they call it radical acceptance. That you have to accept that, I can't change what somebody else thinks and what somebody else does, and I
Yes.
can't change the situation. I can only change the way I look at it and the way I engage with it. So for me, it's going back to those goals that seem to have been dwindling and overshadowed by my current circumstances. I've released that single, a song I'm singing now with another young lady from Cape Town, and they just told us last night it has 1 million impacts on radio.
Awesome.
And I'm in the process of finishing the gospel record. I have a jazz album that's actually finished. I've signed a deal with Gallo, and so it's just to get that released, get that out, and just keep going for it. One of the things I want to do is diversify our business because I think it's important for musicians to have multiple revenue streams.
Right.
So that if music is slow, you've got something else that's happening. Yeah. So I'm energized and really excited about the future. And we're going to give it a good bash. Yeah.
So we give God praise for your life. You mentioned to me that you are keen on working with the rehab center that you were admitted to.
Yeah.
Working with youth in Wentworth. How's that going?
That's great. I kind of speak to somebody from the rehab at least once a week or once every 2 weeks. The rehab's called ARCA.
Okay.
And I found them to be really efficient and really effective because what they do is not just dealing with stuff from a psychological perspective or weaning you off medication per se. They are the only place I know of that does a medical detox for 3 days. It's like you have 2 drips a day for 3 days, and it flushes everything out of your system. And then you have occupational therapists that we have classes with, and psychologists that you have classes with. So I really think that their program is really effective. And I asked the doctor, Dr. Naidu, I said, look, can I get you to sponsor another young person in the place where I come from or wherever, like Wentworth, because there's a drug infestation there. And he happily agreed, so I really commend that. And we at this point in time are searching for the candidate that we know will firstly have to realize that they need rehab.
Acceptance.
Yes, acceptance, and also be able to go through the entire program of 21 days. Yeah.
Okay. So Ernie, thank you so much for sharing your testimony with us.
Thank you.
We pray with you, and we hope that from here on, that God will use you for the extension of His kingdom. So thank you so much for spending the morning with me and sharing your testimony with us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
All I
you.
do is call on you, and you come and say, make it okay. I can trust you that way. Zip-a-doo-doo, zoom-doo-doo, zoom-doo-doo, zap-boom-bye. Zip-a-doo-doo, zoom-doo-doo, zoom-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. Feeling lonely. When I'm feeling kind of lonely, oh, feeling lonely, oh, I'm feeling lonely.